Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda and welcome to my channel. In this important training video, I'm going to address three things pertaining to inaccurate stimulus payments. I'll tell you what you need to know. I'll basically go over three things. Number one, the criteria for stimulus payments. Now, you've probably heard this before, but it's important to understand and reiterate the criteria because that is the reason for all the inaccuracies in stimulus payments. I'll talk about stimulus payments that are either too high or too low because some of us have been getting stimulus payments that are much smaller than what we should be getting. And most importantly, in the third thing, I'll talk about what you should be doing about it right now. Now, if you're an existing subscriber to the channel, welcome back. If you're not an existing subscriber, please click subscribe. Please enable notifications. And speaking of stimulus, I'd appreciate it if you can stimulate that like button. I had to say that. So let's get started. Now, let's start with the elephant in the room. Where is the stimulus check and why are the stimulus check payments inaccurate? Well, it's because the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, is completely overloaded. A lot of IRS agents are working from home. The IRS hasn't checked a lot of their mail. In fact, they've been redirecting their mail to trailers. Yes, they've been redirecting their mail to trailers because they need to get caught up with all the backlogged mail. Despite that, the IRS has done everything that they could, and latest statistics show that the IRS delivered more than 159 million economic impact payments, and they paid out over $267 billion. These are latest statistics as of May 2020, and they did this because of the mandate in the CARES Act that was passed in March. Now, these payments, as you know, $1,200 per individual and $2,400 per married couple filing jointly, assuming they met certain thresholds. These were authorized by Congress through the CARES Act. But the fact is, not everyone who was eligible for the payment got the payment. And more importantly, some individuals got a much smaller amount than they were supposed to get. And some individuals got more than they were supposed to get. I bet they're not complaining. So now here's where some of the problems began. In an effort to get this money out to individuals as fast as possible, what the IRS did is it started sending money first to individuals who needed it the most, and it started sending money to individuals who it could reach the fastest. In other words, individuals for whom the IRS had direct deposit payment information on file. Now, people who had already filed their 2018 or more recently their 2019 tax returns and who had filed electronically, and those who had received a refund deposited directly into their bank account, they were actually the first to get the stimulus check because all the IRS had to do was to push a button and then the money went directly into that individual's bank account. So those individuals got it first. Also, the individuals making the least amount of money started getting the stimulus checks first. Now, it has been estimated, because the IRS can only mail out up to 5 million stimulus checks per week, it has been estimated that the whole process could take weeks or months. I did do another training video where I broke down the guidelines and the actual timelines for different individuals and when they can expect their stimulus check. But for a lot of us, we either haven't got our stimulus check or we've got a stimulus check that was much smaller than what we were anticipating. So what are these stimulus checks based on? They're based on your adjusted gross revenue for your most recently filed tax return. It's 2018 or 2019, depending on what your most recently filed tax return is. They're based on your tax filing status, whether you're married or you're single, as well as any dependents that you have that are under the age of 17, because that's what was mandated by the CARES Act. Now, the most important threshold is actually the income threshold. So if an individual makes $75,000 per year or up to $150,000 per year, that's adjusted gross income for married couples, they would get the stimulus check of $1,200 and $2,400 respectively. Now, for income above those levels, if they start to make more money, the government check, the stimulus check would be reduced and it would be completely phased out for single filers who make more than $99,000 a year and for couples who make more than $198,000 per year. Now, again, it's important to understand the criteria because it's based on these criteria that you can estimate the stimulus check that you can expect to get. And I'll show you an important PDF file. This is actually from the IRS website. As you can see on the PDF, for a head of household making up to $112,500 a year, that head of household would be eligible for a $1,200 stimulus check payment. And if that individual made more money, up to $136,501, there would be a 5% phase out. Above $136,501 for head of household, there would be no stimulus check. On the second page of this PDF file, which again is directly from the IRS website, they've provided specific examples and specific scenarios. For example, If you have 3 qualifying children, again, these are dependents under the age of 17, you would receive $1,500, that's $500 for each child, on top of the $2,400, assuming you're married filing jointly. So the economic impact payment in this case would be $3,900. If you're a head of household earning up to $112,500, your economic impact payment in that case with 3 children, which is where you would get $500 per dependent child under the age of 17, your economic impact payment in that case would be $2,700. And if you are a single filer with 3 children, your economic impact would be $2,700 if you had 3 children that fit the criteria. In other words, if they were your dependents under the age of 17. So that's basically how the economic impact payments are calculated, and that's what you can expect to get as a stimulus payment. Now, as you can imagine, with any kind of system that's designed to benefit millions of individuals, specifically the low wage earners and the middle income earners, because those are the individuals who need the economic impact payments the most. There are going to be faults, the system is going to crack under pressure, and there's going to be some weakness which leads to inaccuracies. That's exactly what's happening. A lot of my subscribers have said that the economic impact payments, the stimulus checks that they've been getting, are too small, much lower than what they anticipated. So now, if you think it's too small, what you need to do is go back and look at the criteria that I mentioned earlier in this training video. Go back and look at the IRS PDF file to make sure that your calculation is correct. Also, there are legitimate reasons why your economic impact payment may be lower. Now, obviously, there could be mistakes as well, and I'll tell you what to do if there are mistakes. But if you're behind on child support, you may have missed out on an economic impact payment. If you're married to a non-citizen, you will miss out on an economic impact payment. These are based on the terms, this is based on the terms of the legislation of the CARES Act that was passed in March. But by and large, the number one reason for smaller economic impact payments, for smaller stimulus checks that most people have been talking about, or most of my subscribers have been talking about, is the fact that their checks did not include the $500 economic impact payments for their children under the age of 17. So for families with multiple children, that could be a large sum of money. So what do you do if you haven't received the stimulus payment and the credit, essentially, if you will, for your child? Well, if you did not receive the full amount that you were entitled to get, you will be able to claim that additional amount when you file your 2020 tax return. That's official guidance from the IRS. The agency also advised that you keep the form that you receive regarding your stimulus payment, which is the notice 1444. That's the notice that will come to you with the stimulus check or the debit card that you'll get in the mail. So you need to keep notice 1444 with you. Please do not throw that away, because you're going to need that notice when you file your 2020 tax return. At that time, you should be able to claim the additional credits that you did not get, most likely because of a mistake on the part of the IRS. Maybe they didn't know about your children, they didn't have the information on file, or they just made a mistake. You'll be able to claim that as an additional credit that you should be eligible for when you file your 2020 tax return. Now, what do you do if you received too much money from the IRS? I know what you're thinking, just keep the money, right? Well, the reason you'll receive too much money is, let's say that the parents got divorced and then both the parents receive $500 economic impact payments for both the children. Now, the interesting thing is the IRS hasn't provided clear guidance about this, and for families who receive what are essentially duplicate payments for dependent children, they likely will not have to pay the money back based on current guidance from the IRS. Now, this could change. It's best to check the IRS website, but the IRS on its website specifically says there is no provision in the law requiring repayment of a payment. So that's interesting right there. Now, however, it's important for both the parents to keep the notices that they get about their stimulus payments, just in case they need to make an amendment to their 2020 tax filings. So I talked about a scenario where the IRS did not have specific guidance about the repayment of the stimulus check. There is a scenario when the IRS does have specific guidance that stimulus checks will need to be returned to the IRS, and that's in the case of individuals who passed away. Now, individuals who passed away have actually received stimulus checks in the mail from the IRS based on their 2018 or 2019 tax return, presumably because the IRS was not aware that they had passed away. So now what's happening is those stimulus checks that have actually reached family members have been deposited by family members. Now, the IRS specifically says that that sum should be returned back to the IRS, and the agency on its website provides specific guidance to relatives and family members to return that stimulus money. Now, if the deceased partner was married, what the IRS says is the spouse only needs to return the money that was intended for the deceased partner. So those are specific guidelines from the IRS. Now, I know this is a tough time for all of us. I know that a lot of us are looking for our stimulus checks, but my goal with this training video was to make you aware of how much you qualify for. Also, it was to make you aware of what you can do if you received a smaller stimulus check than what you should be getting. In some cases, you may have received a larger than intended stimulus check, and I advised you on what to do in that situation as well. I understand what all of us are going through, and I can promise you that one day all of this will be over, and one day all of this will be behind us. I hope you learned something new from this training video about what to do if your stimulus check payments are inaccurate, and I'm hopeful and I'm confident that you can get all the stimulus money that's owed to you. I've done other videos in my channel. I've done other playlists on stimulus check updates, on stimulus proposals, on how to manage your money, on unemployment benefits, and I would urge you to check out those video trainings as well, because there's a ton of great information there, and our community is growing very, very, very rapidly. So I encourage you to join our community. Please click the link below. Please click subscribe, and also please enable notifications so you get an instant update for future videos. Also, please click the like button, so that really helps out the YouTube algorithm, and I would really appreciate that. If you have any questions, please type out your questions into the comment section below. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video training, and I hope this video was helpful in helping you figure out the accuracy or the inaccuracy of your stimulus check payment and what next steps to take in order to make sure you get the full stimulus check payment. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next training video. Bye.